Welcome to the Runway, where we cover current events in crypto, Web3, and tech. It's Friday, May 24th. Let's take off. Well, guys, it's been a crazy 2 weeks. I think it's probably been the biggest 2 weeks in Web3 history when it comes to regulatory clarity and the industry in the United States. We've seen Donald Trump host his NFT event and have a bunch of Web3 people go to crypto pill him there and, talk to him about Web3, talk to him about Bitcoin, talk to him about the industry. We've watched his 180 from his administration as he's learned more about the industry and learned more about the technology. People own it, that people like it, that people want it, and that it creates jobs and opportunities and, tax revenue, et cetera, here in the US. So he has officially completed his 180. I saw a post the other day where they are accepting crypto donations now. And he has it's a picture of his face in the same setup that Elizabeth Warren's ad was, where she said she's building an anti-crypto army. Trump said he's building a crypto army. So that is nice to see. As a result of all that, we've watched the current administration, who has been actively doing things to sabotage our industry and our ecosystem. They're kind of shell-shocked and scrambling, not sure what to do, how to play out. This has resulted in the passage of the repeal going through both the House and Senate with some bipartisan support to repeal SAB 121, which was an obscure sort of accounting rule that made it so that banks and custodians couldn't treat crypto like any other asset. They had to treat it as a liability on their books. This was completely ridiculous. This was just an attack on the industry to prevent the opportunity for these entities to be involved in the space, right? And this absolutely does not help anybody. It doesn't help consumers. It just makes it so that there's less regulated, riskier custodians out there, as opposed to using the creme de la creme, or the entities that are holding customers' funds as custodians, using the state of the art, right? With all of the protections and all of the eyeballs on those custodians to prevent them from contributing in bad behavior. And I'm absolutely pro this. I mean, if you are custodying funds for others as an institution, you should absolutely be regulated, and you should absolutely have eyeballs on you, making sure that you are protecting those funds, right? It just makes common sense, right? Now, it's token of the same coin. If you have self-custody of your own assets, you should be able to do whatever you want. It's your assets and your funds, right? But if you're holding funds for someone else, and that's part of your business model, you absolutely should be regulated, and that's where the regulators need to come into play. And the SEC was actively blocking this and actively preventing this, which is just worse for consumers. And I think that everybody saw this, whether you be the majority of Republicans, obviously about 99%, in both chambers went along with this, and obviously there was some bipartisan crossover from the Democrats, which grew a little bit as the week went on. Somebody must have shown him the internal poll numbers and realized, oh my gosh, I'm going to get smashed in November if I don't try to appear neutral here. So we're not sure what's going to happen yet. He claimed he was going to veto it. It's sitting on his desk. He hasn't vetoed it yet. Who knows what might happen here. I guess we're going to see how this plays out. This also leads us to another bill that passed the House with even more bipartisan support, which is FIT 21, the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, I believe, which makes very clear that the SEC is conducting in a lot of overreach that they don't have the authorization to do. And it also tells them what they're able to do and what they're not able to do, right? So it's very clear rules, and it's not a perfect bill by any means, but at least it sets a standard that, hey, we're going to have this innovation, we're going to have this technology, it's not going away. And there's got to be some guidelines and rules for these entities, these executive branch agencies to operate on it. They don't just have carte blanche power to do whatever they want, which is exactly what's been happening over the past 4 years under this administration. This sort of shadow authoritarianism, whether it be with Choke Point 2.0 and this Marty Gruenberg character behind the scenes on that end, attacking crypto companies with Choke Point 2.0 behind the scenes unconstitutionally, or through the Gensler administration, Gary Gensler is probably, my least favorite individual. He is just an unbelievable hypocrite. If you look at stuff he was teaching at MIT only a year or two ago, he's actively just going against everything he said now that he has power and he's in a position of power. And these are the worst type of sellout people, I think, in society and in the world, right? He knows better. He's just, falling in line and basically selling his soul to Elizabeth Warren to do whatever her bidding is, right? He's not making the world a better place. He's not making society better. He's not protecting investors. All he's doing is actively preventing, people to to access these instruments in a regulated, compliant, and way that allows more access to market participants, right? So he's doing the absolute opposite of his mandate, and rightfully so. He's getting, ratioed by the administration right now. They're maybe moving away from just letting Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler and this Gruenberg clown do whatever they want behind the scenes, just violate everything. I guess we'll have to see here. This leads us to the spot Ethereum ETFs being approved at the end of the week here. This was put out by, I think, Balchunas and Cypherpunk'd. They were, actively early on saying that at the beginning of the week after this SAB 121 was repealed, and I think the Biden administration looked at internal numbers and polling on these issues, it found out that the crypto pack is very powerful. A lot of people own this asset. A lot of people believe in the innovation. They probably called up the SEC and said, hey, you better approve this thing, or else we're going to get destroyed when election time comes around in November. Now, nobody has all the facts. Nobody knows all the details, but there was about a 99% chance that the Ethereum ETF was going to get denied. And it looks like just after these numbers came back and after the SAB 121 thing, it looks like somebody made a call and that got overturned, and they sent out to all these different filers, hey, update these amendments, which tells you that at the 11th hour that they were going to be approved if they updated those filings and those certain things, right? So big deal. A lot's happening. A lot has happened in these past 2 weeks. There's a lot of underlying winds that are blowing and changing. But unfortunately, it cannot all be good news. And I do have some bad news for you guys, which takes us to the first story of the day. The crypto icon Kabosu, the Doge meme dog, passes away at the age of 18. Kabosu, the Shiba Inu who became an internet sensation and the face of Dogecoin, passed away peacefully. The crypto community honors her legacy. Looks like they are going to have a little celebration here. Kabosu's owner, Atsuko Sato, announced the news in a post on her official blog, expressing her deep gratitude for the love and support shown to Kabosu over the years. Sato explained that there would be a farewell party at Flower Kaori in Kotsu no Mori, Narita City, held for Kabo-chan on May 26th. The crypto community and fans of Kabosu have expressed their condolences, sharing tributes and some favorite memories of the dog that became an internet legend. Kabosu's legacy as the face of crypto culture and Dogecoin will continue to symbolize community spirit and inspire future generations of meme culture. So very sad to see the death of Kabosu. Rest in peace, little Doge. Let us move on to our next story. So here we are. Spot Ether ETFs approved, but Gary Gensler didn't vote for them. Here's why. Unlike the spot Bitcoin ETFs, which were approved via voting by a 5-member committee, including SEC Chief Chair Gary Gensler, spot Ether ETFs were approved by the Trading and Markets Division of the SEC. So this is interesting. They went through a little bit of a different process, right? They kind of delegated the approval process here, which kind of confusing as to why. It looks like James Cypherpunk'd here says, so far, this is the most intriguing part of the filing to me. The approval was issued via delegated authority, which means there won't be public commissioner votes to see. Maybe, but it also means any commissioner, maybe Crenshaw, can technically challenge and ask for a review/vote. Another ex-user attributed the SEC's decision to several factors, including political pressure, the upcoming elections, and the implementation of environmental, social, and governance rules. Another major difference between the approval process of the two crypto ETFs is that all 11 BTC ETFs started trading the day after their approval, as they also got S1 form clearance. Spot Ether ETFs might be weeks or months away from debuting on exchanges, as the ETF filers have yet to receive the S1 SEC registration. Which brings us to our next little article here. So Ethereum ETF approved, so why aren't we rich yet? Crypto commentators suggest there could be two reasons why the price of ETH hasn't rocketed in the wake of spot Ether ETF approvals, right? So Zach Rhines here says that Ether has already surged 29% over the past week after reports suggested the SEC may have pivoted its stance toward ETF approvals, right? So here's the whole logic of people are buying anticipation of this. Everyone who wanted to buy the approval already did. So it's like kind of like that old adage that goes, buy the rumor, sell the news. Rhines and many others also note that while ETFs have been approved, they still haven't been cleared to launch. That will require an S1 filing, which is a comprehensive document including details on the firm's financials and risk profile, as well as the securities they tend to offer. So what that means is that the capital inflow hasn't come yet, right? Once they launch, once these ETFs are launched, then all of these entities can just press a button in their Fidelity account and start buying that ETF, right? So that ability isn't quite there yet, and we won't see the result of that until they officially list on the exchanges, right? So there's still this little short wing of opportunity if you believe there's going to be demand for this asset, which I absolutely believe that there's a little bit of an opportunity before TradFi really can wade in on that front and continue to accumulate. Although there is a trust, which is the ETH trust is still available for purchase. But there's this little lag here between the official launch, and I think that, once that happens, you're going to be everybody will be surprised by how much capital also flows into these Ethereum ETFs. Let's move along here. Coinbase SEC spar over investment definition in appeal attempt. The SEC is evading the real issue, and the court was wrong to take its side, Coinbase claims in a defense of its interlocutory appeal. So here the SEC says, or the Coinbase says in the appeal, they say the SEC ignores that no appellate court in the 78 years since the Supreme Court ruling that established the Howey test has found an investment contract absent a post-sale contractual undertaking. So I think we talked about this the other day where I mentioned Paul Grewal's .eth takes, and I think the SEC is going to continue losing in these cases, especially on appeal or as they continue to file these just random things under the Gensler administration here, his stay as the head of the SEC. Here he comments here on this appeal, on this contractual undertaking fact, and he says that in turn makes the issue ripe for a court decision and not the inevitable application of settled law, Coinbase said. It also found the SEC claims in its suit against Ripple to be inconsistent with those in Coinbase's case, and noted that the House of Representatives just days earlier passed a bill that would deny the SEC the expansive jurisdiction it claims. So this bill, this FIT21 bill, also really cuts down on his power and his abilities, and basically goes against everything that the SEC is claiming in court. All the power they claim they have is basically just been shot down by the House of Representatives with this passing of FIT21. So good for them, good for Coinbase, and good for Paul Grewal. I mean, he's done a fantastic job. I think they greatly underestimate how effective he's been and how intelligent he is. I think he's a great ally and a great chief legal officer for Coinbase, and he's really carrying the fight here to these overreaching authoritarian executive branch agencies, these swamp creatures, as we call them. U.S. House passes bill banning Federal Reserve from issuing a CBDC. So another bill that has passed that I didn't even get a chance to mention is this anti-CBDC bill that the House of Representatives passed, right? This one was not a bipartisan vote in any means, right? So the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act, introduced by Majority Whip Tom Emmer, seeks to block the U.S. central bank from continuing efforts toward the development of digital dollar. Republicans expressed concerns that a U.S. CBDC could be used to control Americans. Democrats said during debate before Thursday's vote that the concerns were overblown and a ban would block public sector innovation and research. I don't know what public sector innovation and research really means or is, because most of all of the genius things that occur and that have been developed have come from the private sector, so not sure what that means. Overall, 213 Republicans and 3 Democrats voted for the bill, while 192 Democrats voted against it. This is an extension of the law we passed here in Florida with the help of the FBBA and Samuel Arms that prevents CBDC, a central bank digital currency, from being accepted. Cut out the middlemen, and now the Federal Reserve is directly, the government is directly, in a sense, monitoring every activity you do, which is very Orwellian, right? And we should empower the private monies, the private stablecoins that already exist, the Tethers, the Circle USDC. Let's have a stablecoin bill that provides legal clarity for entities like that, and then we can have more competition. We can have more entities pop up. Maybe there will be a stablecoin that can pass back some of the yield they're getting from treasuries. And it's a win-win for everybody, right? And there's rules in place that protect our constitutional rights, that protect our Fourth Amendment rights, and protect our First Amendment rights, and allow people to express themselves via using money as speech in a way, right? Finally, we have this article, and this is something that I'm going to keep shining light on because it just absolutely disgusts me what's happening here. Binance money laundering trial in Nigeria pushed to June 20th due to executive's illness. Binance's head of financial crimes compliance, Tigran Gambarian, is seriously ill, his lawyers said. So they've essentially are holding this guy hostage. Tigran Gambarian is Binance's compliance head, but he's also a previous federal agent that helped bring down one of the largest pedophile rings in the world. They worked with, I think, South Korean regulators. They worked with agencies all over the world to go after the nastiest, most disgusting criminals. And to see him being subjected to this, he's sitting in a cell in Nigeria because they are, this is just an insanely authoritarian behavior by Nigeria to do this, to take this actual U.S. citizen and this hero in a way. I mean, this guy's an absolute hero. He's used the blockchain to stop some of the biggest crimes in the history of ever. This guy's literally he's in a Kuji prison, with a bunch of terrorists from Boko Haram. It looks like he has malaria now. He can't even walk. I mean, this is unbelievable. If this guy passes away, I mean, this is murder by the Nigerian government. So unacceptable. We need some attention on this. I don't know who we can get We're going to probably try to promote this on X to try to get as much of a reach as we can here. Hopefully maybe Elon can look at this and draw light to it. We're going to tag, Trump, Biden, anybody who might have some sway here. Ryan Selkis, somebody who can amplify this message and get it out there that, maybe we can put some pressure, somehow enable the public sector in our government to do something good for a change and actually put some pressure to protect an American citizen who has served his country well and done amazing things for his country, right? So, his poor wife here says, yesterday, despite numerous signs of severe illness, my husband was still required to appear in court, where he later collapsed. Tigran Gambarian said in a statement seen by CoinDesk, the conditions in the notorious Coogee prison are, in a word, devastating. My husband is a strong, healthy person, but he is facing an environment that would bring even the strongest among us to our knees. So, this is disgusting. And I agree with her sentiment here. I am calling yet again for his immediate release. Gambarian's wife said, this punitive punishment against Tigran is in an effort to target his employer has gone on long enough. My husband is sick. He needs help. Please show some sense of humanity. Yeah, this is a straight up extortion attempt by the Nigerian government. And this is why their citizenry does not want to deal with them. They've hyperinflated the currency. They've suffered under massive inflation. They've lost their life savings and purchasing power. It's time for the Nigerian government to stop and to embrace some free market economics and let people choose to use the money they want to use, because you have lost all credibility when it comes to these things. And your government, your citizens do not trust you. They do not want you. They do not trust your money. They do not want you to print the money. They don't trust you anymore, and they don't trust your authoritarianism. So take this as a message to reverse course on these policies, and please release Mr. Tigran Gambarian. This will bring us into our X Factor takes, and I'm going to follow up and keep the pressure on the Nigerian government. Here is a take by Aileen Osorio, and she is the content and research of financial freedom at the Human Rights Foundation. She writes their weekly newsletter, and here she says, this and so much more featured in our weekly newsletter, the Financial Freedom Report, which I encourage you to subscribe here, financialfreedomreport.org. So definitely go and do that. Here is what she wrote. In a draconian new verdict, the Federal High Court of Lagos upheld a Central Bank of Nigeria CBN regulation requiring financial institutions to collect customers' social media handles as part of their Know Your Customer KYC procedures. This is unbelievable. How Orwellian can you get here? Namandi Dimgaba argued this new regulation doesn't breach citizens' privacy rights. Are you out of your freaking mind? Likening it to collecting email addresses and phone numbers for verification. This verdict triggers concerns over increased surveillance and the potential targeting and harassment based on an individual's online activity. This is very Orwellian. They want to monitor what you're saying online so they can try to come after. With Nigeria's central bank digital currency, the e-Naira, already in public use, this new verdict could lead to more Nigerians being debanked and their funds frozen based on their online speech, further restricting the little freedoms they have today. This is just a perfect example of why Nigerians are opting out, and they're some of the largest adopters of Bitcoin and stablecoins and these crypto assets in the world, right? These governments come out and say and ban these things, and the usage goes up 1,000%, right? We're seeing huge adoption in Nigeria of crypto assets, and the reason is because of governments like this, right? Because of the erosion of personal freedoms, and this is why this technology is important for the world. The pace at which Nigeria moves to repress its citizens is shocking. And I said, I agreed. And they were holding Binance Execs hostage wild times. And I just wanted to kind of follow up on that. Alex Gladstein, also at the Human Rights Foundation, posted today, Nigeria steps up efforts to curb speculation against the battered Naira, including banning street trading in foreign currency. Pay attention, right? So just more capital controls, more attempt to control their people and not to give the people agency to make their own decisions and basically protect their wealth from a hyperinflating currency that the government constantly debases. And you can see exactly why these people they don't trust their government, right? So the government should take a hard look at itself and maybe try some of the stuff that Javier Milei is doing in Argentina. I think they'll have much more success with that. But until that happens, let's keep the pressure up on this. Let's keep calling them out. Let's try to spread the message to have them release this hostage that they're holding there in Nigeria. Let's move along here. Just in, BlackRock and Fidelity now own a combined 445,029 Bitcoin, worth $30.6 billion for their spot Bitcoin ETFs. These ETFs hold 231,029 more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy, right? So just in a couple weeks, you can see the accumulation that's occurring at these ETFs, right? And Bitcoin is a digitally scarce asset that there's only 21 million of, right? So they're going to keep buying Bitcoin for the ETFs for their investors and for their holders. They're going to suck up supply off of the market. And this is extremely bullish. As time goes on, the more they accumulate, that means the less Bitcoin is actively being traded and the less supply on the market. So it's just a bullish catalyst, right? And when the Ethereum ETF launches, you're going to see a similar bullish catalyst there that's going to eat up supply. Ryan Selkis, if you spend 3 years defaming us, our teams and our professional colleagues as terrorist sympathizers, fraudsters, and the most vile of criminals, do not expect to be let off the hook based on a vote we forced you to make for crypto. The offense is just getting warmed up. I love this take. This current administration is all of a sudden trying to hide what they've been doing. They're pivoting at the 11th hour after abusing us for 4 years and attacking our industry and making it difficult to do business. And at the same time, many of us are tax-paying Americans using our tax dollars to attack us with the SEC and their rampant abuses of authoritarian behavior that they're doing with all these cases, going after not the Sam Bankman-Frieds, not the frauds, not the fraudsters. They're going after the good companies, the Robinhoods, the Coinbases, the Krakens. Unbelievable, unethical behavior. Ryan is right. We need to, clean house. And the Democrats who have been supporting the industry all along, absolutely, we should back them. We should support them. Joe Biden put this Gary Gensler clown in power. He, ceded this control to Elizabeth Warren, and I think he needs to. And he put this Marty Gruenberg character back in power, who's obviously been already lost in courts for doing unconstitutional behavior, is back at it again, doing the same unconstitutional behavior. I mean, the problem is there's no damn accountability. There should absolutely be accountability for these clowns. And what is the accountability? If you work for a private company, you get sued, you'll lose money, you'll be fired. But if you work for the government, you get a free pass to just abuse your power. And that's bullshit. And it should be called out. We don't want to let these people off the hook. Time to vote them out. Time to get a new administration in power. They deserve a fresh slate, a new chance, right? A different administration, and see how they behave. Ryan Selkis here, keep this up. Liz Warren continues to double down on her defamation of the crypto industry, which is why there can be no let up, only unconditional surrender. Optimates delenda est, right? So the industry is going after people like these Democratic incumbents, Sherrod Brown and John Tester in Montana. Then there's, of course, we want to eliminate Elizabeth Warren. We want to get her out of there. She's a clown. Hopefully, this John Deaton has a chance against her. Here is Chris Bleck, and just to keep the pressure on that point, nearly all House Democrats voted in support of CBDC surveillance. All Republicans voted against it. Do with this info as you see fit. And here you can see the nonpartisan votes here with the the CBDC Act that was passed. Here is Adam Cochran. Let's keep the pressure on here. Brad Sherman, who is the Financial Services Committee, said, if you become an investment contract, you're not covered by any regulation. That's literally what the Howey test assesses under the Securities Act, Brad. And if you're worried about blended products, you'll remember these are covered between the SEC and CFTC across both Dodd-Frank swaps and the CFMA for securities future swaps. So what the ever-loving fuck are you on about? Like, this is one of the few things you're supposed to know. You vote on financial regulation every month. Unbelievable. And I echo this sentiment. I mean, some of these people have no fucking clue what they're talking about. Get this clown voted out. I mean, this guy's a moron. He's making policy that he doesn't even know what he's saying doesn't even make sense. It's like the most unbelievable, it's like this Biden admin official who couldn't even describe a bond. They had this guy on and he didn't know what a bond, he didn't know what was going on. He didn't know how money was created. I mean, it was like unbelievable. He was like supposed to be the guy in charge and like just has not even the most basic understanding of what he's doing or what's happening. I mean, it's just a very eye-opening moment. Here is another post here. Current state of BTC maxis, the self-proclaimed sovereign anti-state hard money evangelists. Michael Saylor, Ethereum ETFs will die and ETH will be formally labeled an unregistered crypto security. Jack Mallers, only reason Ethereum ETF is getting approved is because banks are making money. BTC discourse has been totally captured by idiots and opportunists begging for the nanny state to protect their bags. The mental gymnastics are truly fascinating. So I think it is a chance here to kind of dunk on, just kind of call out some of these maximalist takes, which are not based in reality, right? Michael Saylor has done a great job for Bitcoin evangelism. Same thing with Jack Mallers. I mean, love those guys. They've done great work. But just saying that like the Ethereum would, like the thought process that Ethereum would not get an ETF and that almost this religious fervor, I think it's just very misguided. It doesn't help the industry, right? Because it fragments all of us and people that are in different areas working on different things, whether that be DeFi, whether that be NFTs, whether that be, Bitcoin as money, making it a better money. Why I don't understand this religious fractionalization on all these issues, right? Like, even if you don't like these other things, whether it be Ethereum or Solana or whatever, let the free market figure it out. Let people make their own decisions, right? This whole thing is like, it's financial freedom, right? And that doesn't just apply to Bitcoin, right? So Saylor and Jack's take on some of the stuff is just kind of like not based in reality. You complain about the system that prevents you and prevents free markets, allow the free markets to make their decisions, right? If you look at the underlying fundamentals of stuff like Ethereum and Solana and these different networks, I mean, there's massive grassroots support there. People are using these networks. There's tons of L2s being launched on Ethereum with tons of usage, tons of on-chain activity. I mean, the networks decide for themselves. I hate to tell you, but free markets decide. Now, maybe they aren't the hardest money or the super sound money, like Bitcoin is the soundest money, but not everything has to be money, right? There can be blockchains used for different things. And I think that, optionality is good for the markets, right? Let Bitcoin distinguish itself at what it's great at, right? At the same time, let these other applications and use cases be utilized, right? I wanted to touch on that very briefly. Give Waz a follow. I like his take. Caitlin Long, congrats to Numisma Bank, which is statutorily entitled to a master account, and I'm happy for them. Per Zering David, though, I'd say the optics here are pretty uncomfortable for the Fed. The Fed deemed blockers for Custodia Bank, not blockers for Numisma. So this is calling out the hypocrisy here of some of these government agencies. Former Fed's official bank set to receive rare master account approval, raising eyebrows. So this is kind of just like an inside club here, where they just arbitrarily make decisions. There's really no way to follow up and do any research on or any mechanism of transparency here, right? On something that is, connected to the government, right? There should be more transparency here. And Caitlin Long is a great actor, and she has been for a very long time. She definitely deserves a Fed master account, and the hypocrisy from these agencies is just unbelievable. From from the Fed itself, unbelievable hypocrisy here. Just highlight of that hypocrisy. Mark Moss. Many, including myself, seem to think the attack vector on Bitcoin is to go after self-custody. But what does the new FIT21 Act have to say? The answers might surprise you. Pretty interesting take here. It looks like self-custody is, as I read it yesterday, but it just kind of goes in here, talks about how basically balancing transactional freedom and self-custody, as the section explicitly prevents the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network from issuing any rule or order that would prohibit U.S. individuals from maintaining hardware or software wallets. You can securely store digital assets without fear of new regulations forcing you to rely on third-party custodians. You have transactional freedom. But he did have kind of a bad take here that said something about the decentralization criteria, decentralized system, and he said that per their definition and requirements imposed, it would sound like Ethereum would have a hard time qualifying here. This is just blatantly incorrect. The architect of the bill himself went on Bankless yesterday and said it and absolutely said that Ethereum is absolutely not a security, and that is absolutely a commodity based on the bill that he wrote and helped write. So very, very clear. So that part of it was a bad take, although the other aspects of it were very intriguing, right? So I said just some nice analysis here, Mark, although I don't agree with it all. You should try to get Patrick McHenry on to discuss further. He went into detail on Bankless HQ on why ETH is definitely not a security, among many other things. FIT21 is pretty solid for the most part, right? So nothing is perfect. No piece of legislation from the government is ever going to be perfect, but it is definitely a good start here. Next up, Alex Gladstein. Poor generators that can't easily throttle their output, like nuclear or geothermal, apparently have to just pay for the privilege of outputting power if they can't get rid of it any other way, right? So if no one is paying to use electrical or geothermal energy, there's actually a negative cost to that. That energy has to be vented somewhere and essentially wasted and squandered, right? Alex here says, eventually California bureaucrats will realize Bitcoin fixes this, right? So there's a lot of this in California, and California is probably one of the most expensive energy markets in the entire world almost, right? The entire US at least, right? Incredibly expensive in most places for energy in the communist state of California. And Bitcoin is a great fix for that. Honestly, if they would embrace the industry, embrace the innovation, they could actually get paid and bring costs down for their consumers and for their citizens, right? Bring cost of energy down by having a Bitcoin miner pay you something instead of having to pay to disperse and waste your energy, right? Perfect opportunity here for Bitcoin to come in and consume that energy that is now just being wasted or paid to be vented into the ground, essentially. Let's move along here. Daniel Batten. Why are so many journalists so keen to announce to the world that they know nothing about Bitcoin, have no interest in closing that gap, and no qualms about misinforming their readers based on that ignorance? I read one paragraph of Spectator's latest attempt to join the I know nothing about Bitcoin, but it won't stop us writing about it club. One paragraph in, and the article has a misinformation per sentence ratio of around 1 to 1. Impressive going. Claim number 1. The power of Bitcoin to make and lose fortunes in a very short time is unmatched in history. Fact check, false. Bitcoin volatility is comparable to other nascent technologies, decreasing with time, and many assets have experienced greater price drawdowns. For example, Amazon's 90% price drawdown in the wake of the dot-com bust far exceeds Bitcoin. Claim number 2. Bitcoin has staged a remarkable recovery and is now back trading at or even above the highs it reached in 2022. Fact check. False. Bitcoin's last all-time highs were in 2021. This basic error really suggests neither editorial oversight nor any knowledge of Bitcoin. No one who is qualified to write about Bitcoin would get that wrong. For Sam Bankman-Fried's customers, Bitcoin turned into the scam many of the cryptocurrency critics feared it would be. Fact check, false. Imagine not knowing that Sam Bankman-Fried was a vocal opponent of Bitcoin and that the failure of FTX, not SFX, was because he stole customers' money, nothing to do with Bitcoin. Do better, spectator. Might be time to invite Peter McCormick back to talk about Bitcoin before you embarrass yourselves further, or simply invest some time attempting to understand first, right second. Plenty of us here to help you if you reach this path with respect to Bitcoin. I'm going to retweet this because this is unbelievable. I mean, this Ross Clark, whoever wrote this article, is an absolute clown. I mean, you should be extremely embarrassed with yourself, and you should be forced to recant what you're writing about this, not basically all lies and falsehoods. You should be embarrassed for yourself. Your publication should make you unpublish this, because this is embarrassing to you and it's embarrassing to anybody with a brain. So very, very disgusted to see this. It's embarrassing for the publication. They could have chosen almost any topic here's Jan from Swan says, this is embarrassing for a spectator. They could have chosen almost any topic to spread disinformation on, but chose the one that has people who are cross-disciplinary experts in computer science, energy, economics, etc., and also know how to do basic, I'm not going to use that word because I don't like that organization, basic searching. And this is an interesting tool called Explore that has come out of X lately. And what it does, I believe, is that it uses the AI to look at all of everybody's posts. It sees tweets where people talking about an issue, and then it lists it almost as a story. It takes all those tweets and it writes a story about what's kind of happening in the world. Right? I gotta stop saying kind of. Marathon Digital Holdings has signed a deal with Kenya to invest $80 million in digital infrastructure, focusing on green Bitcoin mining using renewable energy. This partnership aims to monetize underutilized energy resources across Kenya and jointly develop technology projects. The initiative is part of Marathon's strategy to geographically diversify its operations and enhance Kenya's energy sector. The project has garnered positive reactions from the crypto community, highlighting the potential of Bitcoin mining to support renewable energy infrastructure and manage energy systems more efficiently. Great opportunity here for Marathon. As a Marathon investor myself, it's very interesting to see these collaborations. It's going to bring more capital, jobs for Kenyans. Fantastic deal. My only reservation is just the changing political climates in places like this. Or what if sadly, Africa has so much potential, but you've got so many authoritarian regimes and so many wars going on. Even in places like Zimbabwe, we're looking at now, there's a lot of mining collaboration potential there in Zimbabwe, and they wouldn't allow us to import the machines because they weren't new or something like that. I think I saw that. It was like killed the deal. Very wild and weird. So you really got to be careful in some of these places because you just don't know if a civil war could break out. But that being said, it's probably a fantastic opportunity. As long as there's no violent uproar or massive government upheaval, this could be a great way for Marathon to access really, really cheap and low-cost energy, which I think personally, one of the biggest problems they've had historically is they've relied on a lot of data centers to host their machines, and they've paid a premium for that underlying cost. So I think this is brilliant, and it's nice to see there's a risk attached to this, like there is anything. But I just kind of wanted to end on that note. There's been so much that's happened this week. Thank you guys. Stay safe, stay blessed, never stop learning, and keep an open mind.